Hey everybody, it's Kyle with ForceOfWillTavern.com and it's Brian with ForceOfWillTavern.com. Brian, big weekend. What happened?
Got third place at WGP Houston.
You got third place at WGP
Qualified
Houston.
for Worlds.
There you go. So you're going off to Worlds, Team USA. We're all really proud of them. But here's the thing. You went there with, which ruler was your main?
Bahamut.
Bahamut. So, little background on Brian for those of you who don't know. Brian got fourth place, so one shy of Worlds at WGP LA, and he was playing Bahamut. This was during the control meta, so it was a unique pick already, and they had a different build than everyone else. It was more of a mid-range Bahamut. Did the same thing here. You just weren't playing Baja Blast, were you?
No, this is actually completely different from Baja Blast.
You took Baja and dropped the Blast.
Yes, absolutely. I would call this deck a Granny OTK.
Granny OTK.
Because it plays grannies and it does OTK you.
It does OTK. So
yeah.
Why don't we go through the let's go through the resonators first.
Okay. Not the J ruler?
We'll talk about Bahamut in a minute. I think most people know Bahamut does at this point.
All right, cool.
So we'll go back into Bahamut in a minute. Let's talk about the resonators. So just spread out the ones everyone's seen before.
Okay, so we're going with for Gwen. Gwen is pretty good. She allows you to play a more grindier game. So you can sack either Ruhk Egg or like any other one drop to draw to discard one. It also helps you dodge removal as well.
Absolutely. So a little background on Gwen. Her effect is you can rest her to banish a resonator and draw 2 cards and discard 1. So if someone tries to thunder Gwen, let's say, and it's not the turn that you summoned her, you can rest her and draw 2, discard 1, so you get value out of their thunder. Also, there's a second effect, which actually comes into play quite often.
It really does.
Which is you could pay 1 red, and you could target a resonator, and it gains 400 until the end of the turn.
Right. So
and
this
right when it does damage, you banish it, right?
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. So the thing about this ability is it helps. The second ability helps you with your OTK as well. So if you're like 200 short or 400 short, then this really helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now next card here. So Gwen. Awesome.
Okay. Egg. So Egg is really good in Baja Blast because you can allow you to search for another Cthugha and whatever. But in this deck, it's even better. So it allows you to have flexibility in your plan. So this gets you any other combo piece in the deck.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So it allows you to, adjust to whichever plan you want, and it's the hardest card to play in the whole entire deck because you have to understand what you want to search and why you want to search it. So
Egg is arguably one of the most game-changing cards for Red. It just
Absolutely.
I think it took Red to the next level. Some people were unsure about it in the beginning because they felt that late game Egg wasn't very good. The fact that if you have Egg on the board and you can just get rid of it with Gwen and search off Egg and then draw 2, discard 1, the amount of plussing you're doing is just insane.
Yeah, it's actually a straight +2 with that.
Exactly, and there's not too many +2s in Force of Will.
Yes, and especially in Red, and so cheaply as well.
Absolutely. So, Ruhk Egg, great card. What's the next one?
All right. So, for Cthugha. So, this card is pretty interesting. It allows you to sack your Ruhk Egg early so that you can search for other pieces of your combo. It also allows you to get pretty aggressive early. So, if you want to just go straight Bahamut, like you go Ruhk Egg into Cthugha, into sacking your Cthugha, into attacking with Bahamut, you can just nut draw them and kill them. It also allows you to get into a little bit of chip damage early so that you don't have to do as much damage for your OTK. And also it's just good fodder for Gwen as well.
Absolutely. Now,
yeah.
For those of you who don't know about Cthugha, basically it uses Incarnation. So instead of paying its cost of 3, it's 1 red, 2 void. You can just eat a fire resonator that's already on the board like Ruhk Egg. Ruhk Egg goes to the graveyard, searches out a fire resonator, and now you have a 5/5 with swiftness that didn't really cost you much.
Yeah, I don't like this card too much because it's really costly in terms of cards. You can actually go pretty minus and then just find yourself running out of cards. But it's necessary to play because it combos a lot with a lot of the other cards. Like it combos with Ruhk Egg, it combos with Gwiber, which is what we're gonna get into later. It also helps with the OTK as well because you can just search it up with a Ruhk Egg to finish your OTK. And it also just like sometimes you'll just like not draw them and kill them.
So let me ask, how often did you make a Cthugha with 1 red, 2 void?
Oh, a lot.
Yo, you paid full price.
I paid full price a couple of times in the tournament just because I didn't want to sack a dude. I just wanted more guys on the board. Make a Cthugha, might as well.
Right? Why not?
Why not?
Okay, what's the next card here?
Okay, next card. Hunter in Black Forest. Yes.
How'd you like it?
This card is like okay. It's probably the best 1-drop that doesn't actually combo with the rest of the deck. It gets in for a little bit of chip damage early, so it makes your OTK a lot easier. So you don't have to count to 4K, and you can just count to 37 or 34.
And everyone hates counting all the way up to 4K.
Oh yeah, counting to 4K is so hard. Math is hard.
Yeah, I do that. That's why. Yeah, that's why I quit. I didn't quit. I'm still here, guys.
Right. So it's pretty good. It also carries a bullet in the board a lot of times. It also is Cthugha fodder and also is another 1-drop for Gwiber. So you just want a high concentration of 1-drops so that you can do a lot of things. Like it's sack fodder to Gwen. I pitched this a lot to Gwen as well. It's just an easy choice to pitch for Gwen.
Now I know I'm not the only one who heard you say Gwiber.
Yes, I said Gwiber twice already.
Isn't this Bahamut?
Yes, this is Bahamut, but this is Bahamut with Gwiber in it. But it's not just any Bahamut. I'll get to it in a little bit.
Okay, you were foreshadowing there.
Yes, foreshadowing.
Okay, great. And also 300 isn't too bad.
Yeah.
When you make Bahamut, because with Regalia and you boost Bahamut by 2, or sometimes even 4, that 3 is doing 500 or 700, which is a lot.
Right. All right, cool beans. One Susanowo.
In the main. How did you like it?
Oh, this card is awesome. Like really, really good. So if you can live past turn 3, this card is super, super live.
See, the reason why some people don't like this card is because they're saying you can't live past it. Turn 3 too late.
I think that this deck really can because of the next card I'm going to show. But you can stabilize very, very well, and this becomes really live. Also, this is good against the Gwiber decks as well.
So you're saying in your variant of Bahamut, this card's insane.
Right, and I think that even in the Baja Blast deck, you should play 1 copy of this because it's searchable with Ruhk Egg, it's pitchable with Gwen, and it's good against Bahamut game 1 and the Gwiber decks game 1 as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, next card.
Next card. All right. Little Red.
What?
And Granny.
Okay.
Okay, so... and also 4 poison apples. It's the package.
So here's the thing. Before you go into everything,
yeah.
This here, where did you originally see this?
Okay, so I originally saw this in Bonsai Grim, and I saw this, and I saw 4 copies of this. So we were playtesting the version of Bonsai Grim with apples, and we found that if you didn't draw Regalia in Bahamut, you kind of died to this combo right here. Because what you do is you play this, you get this out of the board, out of the deck, and then you could pitch this for free to kill like their Lancelot, for example, and then block the Cthugha.
Right, exactly.
And you basically save like maybe 1,200 damage off of 2 mana and 2 cards.
Right. So let me explain this a little bit here for people who don't know. So you have Little Red. Basically, you can cast her for 1, so she's a 1-drop just inherently, but you can pay her Awakening, which is an extra 1 red, and she will search out a granny from the deck, her great-grandmother. I think actually it's not great-grandmother, it's just
granny.
Grandma. Yeah, just grandma. Her great-grandma unfortunately passed away months prior to the shooting of this video. Rest in peace. So you get the granny for free. Well, you paid one red for it, and it's a 100-1,200, so she's got a booty.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. She can twerk, this granny. Now, what's crazy is when these 2 hit the board, she also has another effect where you can rest her, discard an apple, and do how much?
1K.
1,000.
1,000 damage.
To a Resonator.
It's essentially a 0 mana stoning.
Insane.
Yeah, because 1,000 damage pretty much kills most everything in the format. There's some random like 12/12s in the format, but like this kills most everything.
Okay, so go into this here to tell us a little bit about the interactions and how why is this so good, and why did you choose to put it in Bahamut?
Okay, so the thing about Bahamut is Bahamut and Regalia both scale off of a whole bunch of wide creatures. So if you're going wide with your creatures, Bahamut really benefits off of that. So and also when you play this plus this, you stabilize on 2. They can't get in for damage. They can't get past the granny. They either have to kill the granny, which is they go super minus, and they have to it eats up a whole bunch of burn spells and damage to kill the granny, which is good for you. And if they don't, then they are in danger of getting OTK'd by the granny, because you can just flip it with Wolf Haunted in Black Forest. Right here. Right here, surprise!
One copy of Wolf Haunted.
One copy of Wolf Haunted in Black Forest. It's just a trigger for these two so that it makes grannies a threat. Like, if you don't have this in your deck, then your grannies are completely the pressure that they have is pretty nullified. Yeah,
so what's crazy about this too is when you turn 2, drop Little Red, and Granny hits the board, you've now put 2 immense threats that your opponent can't ignore.
Yeah.
They have to worry about apples coming out, and if they're not educated and they're not foreseeing that combo, then they're going to get punished. They leave this on board, they're getting punished. If they know about the combo and they have to waste a burn spell on this, they're getting punished. Here, they can't get over that with any standard 2-drop. She's a 1/12. She'll block Lancelot all day,
or probably eat 2 cards or something like that, or eat a ton of damage.
Basically. Right, or they're gonna have to spend a lot to get her off the board. So you have 2 huge threats, because if they are uneducated and they leave this on board because they don't feel like it's a big deal, well, you're gonna get OTK'd when he drops
the Wolf Haunted in Black Forest.
Exactly. So that's so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, the thing about the poison apples is they serve multiple utility.
So explain that. Give us a little rundown on the apples.
So the first one is obviously you can pitch it to Little Red.
Right.
The second thing is you can boost your guy to give it 1,000. So basically, it's better than Purifying Fires if you just can get in with the guy.
So it's an instant as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're paying 1 red, 1 void, and you can give one of your resonators plus 1,000 until the end of the turn, and then that resonator dies.
At the end of the turn.
At the end of the turn, yes.
Right. So that's actually really relevant, because what you can do is afterwards you can sack the resonator to Gwen, you can sack the resonator to Cthugha, you can sack the resonator to Laevateinn. You can even sack the resonator to, say, like, Bahamut and shoot something for, like, 1 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like, there was one game where I was just like, attack with my Cthugha, Poison Apple to hit you for 15. Sack Cthugha to Bahamut, shoot a Susanowo, get like tons of value, and smash in for another like 12, and that's like what, 27 damage in 1 turn.
Absolutely, yeah. It's out of control.
And then he just like couldn't win off of that because I have a Bahamut on board, and he has to deal with Bahamut and whatever else I play next.
Now inherent, like when you just look at this engine in Bahamut, everyone's so used to running this really, really fast Baja Blast, do as much damage as possible. And actually, some criticism you got from some people who saw the list beforehand, were kind of in the inner circle, was Apple too slow,
Granny or dead draws. Yeah.
What's your opinion on all that?
Okay, so Grannies, if you draw one, you honestly, there's 2 options you can do. You can pitch it to Gwen, which is really, really good. It's basically like a +2 because this is a dead card. Or you can just hard cast it, and they just can't beat it.
So how many times do you hard cast this for 3?
A lot. Too many times.
Well, what's great about this deck too, and you'll touch on this in a little bit here, is it's really a 3-mana deck.
Oh, absolutely. So you can play this whole entire deck on 3. There's nothing that isn't really 3 other than Susanowo, but Susanowo is almost always a 3 because there's dragons about.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you have any more things to say about this engine besides that it got you 3rd place?
It's just like really synergistic with everything else that we talked about beforehand. Like Ruhk Egg gets Little Red. So like for example, if you have Ruhk Egg plus Poison Apple, that's Poison Apple plus Granny plus this. Like, and if you have Gwen plus Little Red and an apple, then you can go Gwen into Little Red pitch the apple, and then you can sack the Little Red for value to draw to and discard 1, and you still have the Granny left behind, and it's just immense amount of value. You can also do stuff like go if you have Ruhk Egg into Cthugha, you can go Ruhk Egg, Cthugha, search for this, and then play this, and then you stabilize. Like, instantaneously.
It's insane.
Yeah, and it also puts on a ton of pressure on the board.
And it's cheap.
Yes, and it's cheap.
It's cheap. You know, what you've built just cheats the mana system.
Yes, absolutely. Like, you're making Stoning cost 0, you're making Granny cost 1. Susanowo cost 3 because you're cheating the mana system with this. And let's talk about the next card that we're cheating the mana system with, actually, which is Gwiber.
What?
We mentioned this beforehand.
You foreshadowed this card.
Yes, absolutely.
You're like Stephen King.
So this card is really good with like the high density of 1-drop. So you can just go 1-drop into Gwiber. So that's pretty normal, right? But what you can also do is you can go Little Red into Granny into Gwiber, and that's a 2-card combo to make it a 1-cost.
Absolutely, yeah. And let me jump in here because when you summon Little Red,
yes,
and they say, yeah, that's fine, you drop Granny, you hold priority,
yes,
to cast Gwiber.
So if your opponent is bad, then they can miss the window on shooting your Little Red. Because the window is very, very small.
And even if they're good and they shoot the Little Red, all they've really done was waste the thunder.
Waste the thunder, which is honestly really okay with you. Because then you just don't play Gwiber, you just advance your board state with something else. Or you can just, if they respond to it, to the Little Red, you can just sack it with Gwen or something like that. And you just get massive amounts of value.
So then here's a question here.
Yes.
I mean, obviously there's so much synergy everywhere in the deck. This synergizes with that.
Yeah.
You can search this out. What about Gwiber?
You could search it out with Bahamut. Bahamut has a front side, fellas.
What?
Bahamut has a front side. So what you can do is you go turn 4, you play this, get a Granny, and then you can search this up with this ability on the chase. Get this. Once this resolves, you hold priority, play this, and you have 3 massive threats. We already talking about how much this is a threat. And we know how much this is a threat, too. And flying 12/12, do I really have to explain that?
No, not at all. And this is also blocking Bahamut.
Oh,
so
yes.
This is why Baja Blast just gets crumbled by this deck.
Yeah.
How many games did you win while you were on the draw against Baja Blast, which is arguably the worst situation to be in against that deck?
I only dropped 1 game.
On the draw.
On the draw.
That's what's crazy because the deck was built to win on the draw.
Right. I lost a fair share of games playing against Melgus, but on the draw I think I lost maybe 1 or 2, at most 2.
On the Bahamut. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the percentage on the draw? Would you say after like all of our testing and stuff?
Game 1, 60-40, in our favor. On the draw.
If we're on the draw.
If we're on the draw, 60-40.
And if we're on the play?
95-5, 90-10, like
right.
It's almost, unless you break, you cannot lose on the play.
Insane.
Yeah, straight up.
Insane. And here's a little background too about the building of this because Bryan had been working on this for a really long time.
Yes.
And this is definitely worth mentioning. Is the first thing he was thinking about is how can we cheat the mana system?
Yeah.
And when we were looking at the meta, one thing that we realized very quickly was turn 2 as far as fighting Bahamut. Or excuse me, more specifically Baja Blast, because he's still running Bahamut, is turn 2 is when you have to stabilize in order to not die from Bahamut. Because he can put out a lot of damage really early. So he was coming from a place of, how do we stabilize turn 2? How do we put threats on board to keep control? And also, how do we stop Bahamut from just swinging over us and killing us completely? And what's crazy is it solves all of it. This is searchable with Bahamut itself. Talk a little bit about the ruler. Just name the effects for some people who might not be super familiar yet, for newer players, stuff like that.
Okay, sure. So he's got front side first. So you can tap it to search for a Dragon Resonator put into your hand, or you can J activate it by banishing a Fire Resonator. So basically, any creature in our deck we can just sack off and flip Bahamut.
Okay, Bahamut gets flipped. So let's say you tributed a Cthugha, which is a 5/5.
Right. So
explain the enter ability.
So the enter ability is when this card is flipped, you can deal damage to target Resonator equal to the amount of attack that the Resonator that you sacked had.
So you sack a Cthugha, which is a 5/5. You're going to shoot a Resonator on your opponent's side of the board for 500.
Right. He's also got flying as well, and he's at 1,000 and 1,000. And also, the last ability is activate. you can banish a Fire Resonator and you give this card imperishable.
Okay, so now let's talk about the spells here because they come into play a lot with Bahamut.
Okay, all right. So the first one is 4 Regalias, Laevateinn. So I've kind of talked about this a little bit before. I think this card is extremely powerful. This card is, if not more powerful, at least comparable with Black Lotus in Magic. I've had a lot of discussion with people, and the thing about this card is this card in Force of Will and in Magic is fairly costed at around 4 or 5. Probably.
That would be the fair cost for a card with this many effects.
Right. The reason for that is because with Bahamut, it is essentially 1400 damage, which translates into 7 damage in Magic.
Now let me explain that a little bit here for some newer players. So when you have Regalia on the board and you tap Regalia, it's going to allow your...
increase the blanket effect.
Exactly. So your J Ruler will, when he chooses to do damage in the future, at any point during your turn, it'll do an extra 200. So you would activate it before the refresh phase, which some people still didn't know at the event. And then you would refresh, and then you could tap it again. You've just added 400 total extra damage. So even when Bahamut hits the field, his enter ability is going to trigger. Let's say you chose Cthugha. You're going to hit not just for 500, which is Cthugha's attack. You're also going to add 400, so you're going to be hitting for 900. And then when Bahamut, who has swiftness because of Regalia, swings it, it's going to be doing 1400.
Right. So so if we're just talking about your J Ruler gains swiftness ability and amplifying 200 ability, Bahamut essentially is 1400 damage to the face for 0 mana, because it would have been, it gives it 1400 damage that you wouldn't have done otherwise.
Exactly.
So 1400 damage is equivalent to 2 Purifying Fires. Purifying Fire is already fairly costed at 2, right? So if you add the 2 together, it's fairly costed at 4.
And that's just for 2 of these effects.
Yeah. And that's off of 1 card. You know?
There's one effect that Regalia has that it's probably its less spoken about effect, which is the last one down there on how you can untap it.
Oh, it's actually the third one.
Oh, the third one. Excuse me.
It has 5 abilities, so we're going to go through all of them because all of them are extremely
So
relevant.
let's go to the next one now.
Okay, so the next one is you can sack a Resonator you control to untap Laevateinn. So this is actually probably one of the better ones that we're using in this deck, because what you can do is you can play Laevateinn and Ruhk Egg, and then if they don't kill your Ruhk Egg, you can just sack it off yourself and get whatever you want.
So then you'd untap Laevateinn.
Yeah.
You can tap it again and add another 200 to whatever damage your Ruler's going to do.
Right. What you can also do is, if you have a full board and Bahamut, what you can do is you go sack your whole entire board to tap and tap, tap and tap, tap and tap, and basically machine gun with your whole entire board and attack with Bahamut for 2K, 22.
What was the highest you ever got them?
2K in this event. Yeah.
So you basically half their life with swiftness.
Yes. Yeah.
Out of control.
So, and also, the fourth ability is you can, as long as you control this card, you can ditch one of the same card from your hand and produce 1 Fire at will. This is really relevant because you can just keep stuff in your hand, and you can accelerate your game plan by a turn. So let's say that you could only play a turn 4 Gwiber. This allows you to play a turn 3 Gwiber.
Which is ideal.
Yeah, which is pretty ideal.
And what's also great about this too, because Baja Blast has whatever they call it the God Hand, whatever.
Yes.
That basically is everyone's terrified about. And what's great is the God Hand here, because if you open 2 Regalia, which is what's required for Baja Blast's God Hand, and you can search out a Susanowo, you can counter the Bahamut the turn after it gets played.
Right.
Immediately by getting an extra will by ditching that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this card's pretty broken. The reason why we're playing this card because it is broken, and we have to play broken cards in order to win. This tournament was all about trying to qualify for Worlds, which I managed to do, which was kind of great. But the thing is, you can't expect to not win without playing the best cards, because these are the best cards. Bahamut is the best, is one of the best cards. Laevateinn is one of the best cards. Cthugha, Ruhk Egg are some of the best cards in red right now. or in the game right now.
Then why did you choose to play this over
Like
Baja Blast
or Bonsai Grim?
or something a little? I mean, you took a chance. I think.
Yeah. The reason why is because I felt like this deck does Baja Blast better. It doesn't have as much aggression, but in return, you get a better Baja Blast mirror, or rather Baja Blast matchup, and you have a better late game, and you have better consistency, and there's a lot more decision trees and a lot more plans that you can enact as well.
This is a tough deck to play.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many tricky variations and stuff like that. I'll go over the 5 plans that we have for this deck, because there's 5 different modes that you can play, and all of them are completely viable, and if you pick the wrong one in the wrong situation, you just completely die.
That's scary.
Yeah. So the thing about Baja Blast is if you don't play against it correctly, if you misplay once, you're essentially just dead. Like, people are saying, oh, Baja Blast is so easy, it's just a helmet deck. Like, the mirrors are just so simple. You guys have no freaking clue. Like, Baja Blast is a very, very skill intensive matchup. You have to calculate very, very hard. A lot of times you have to calculate 1 or 2 turns in advance in order to calculate, oh, okay, well, if I do this and my opponent's maximum damage output is, let's say, X, and if my life total is above X, then, you can get in there and try and kill them on the following turn after that. But if it's below that, you have to go, okay, well, I have to try and survive a little bit and try and bring that maximum damage output to a little less, and then try and OTK them after that. It's all a counting game. Absolutely, it's all about calculation.
Okay, great. So now let's talk about the rest of the spells here, and then you can go into the 5.
Let's go to the stones after that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sure. We can talk about the plans afterwards.
Yeah, we're winging this video.
Yeah, absolutely. So 3 Thunder, not 4, 3. Okay, this is a very, very conscious choice. A lot of the times when we were playing with this deck, Thunders were completely dead. Like, they didn't do jack. We always mold them, and they're probably one of the worst cards in the deck, which is really strange because you'd think that Thunder would be really good against, 2 Thunders would kill a Bahamut, or, you can get rid of Cthugha or something like that. But it's a very reactive card, and we want to be utilizing all of our mana in the early game, so we don't have time to leave mana up. So Thunder will almost always be, chance speed. And also we have better removal spells. We have a 0 mana stoning, right? So this card is actually significantly worse than Apple, which works as a 0 mana stoning.
So then, Brian,
yes.
Why are you playing it?
Well, honestly, it's just like it helps you increases the amount of damage that you can do. So it, like, for 1 mana, it deals 500 instead of dealing 200 normally. Because I'll explain a little bit of why that works. Because a lot of times 1 mana equals to a creature, and a creature converts it to 200 damage to Laevateinn. Right. So it's just an additional 200 damage. Whereas this punches in for 5. What happens is, like, you can draw 2, and you can just, like, straight up beat Bahamut just, like, by drawing two Thunders, which is nice. But a lot of times you're just like, I have a Thunder, and it's pretty useless. Yeah, but it's like, and maybe I'll be able to OTK them with the 500 extra damage.
Right, exactly.
Right, cool beans. Last card, Duel of Truth.
You love this card.
No, I don't. This card is pretty terrible for me all day.
What's super funny is I talked him into putting that in last minute.
Yeah, and it was just absolutely terrible for me. I boarded out every single game and never saw it again. There's another one on the board. I thought, okay, so the main reason why I have this card is because I was deathly afraid of Kain. Right? Kain actually kind of poops all over this deck. Not really, but Duel of Truth really makes it so that they don't really have an answer. Like, Duel of Truth, Crime and Punishment both deal with Kain pretty effectively. So what you can do is you can make a big guy, because you have a ton of big guys. You have Bahamut, which is huge on his own. You have Susanowo, which is also huge. And you also have Gwibers that are also huge as well. So you have a lot of beefy guys for Duel of Truth to be effective. Most of the time it was dead for me, though. Yeah, I molded away all the time. Never really saw it, never really played it.
No, we played the same deck at the event, and
yeah.
I knew next to nothing about it. Like, I think we did like a couple days of testing for me.
Yeah.
And I got 31st just because it's a better deck than Baja Blast is. And I actually like Duel of Truth.
Yeah. Well, he ended up liking it, but I just never played it, and like.
But also, it's because I'm not as good of a player, so I wasn't making the correct decisions all the time. And this is something we were talking about in the car, right?
Yeah.
Which is, you want to go into that a little bit about the correct decision versus the best one?
Yeah. So the thing about this deck is there's a ton of good plays that you can make. So like, let's say in a certain situation, there's 6 lines of play that you can take, right? About one of them is pretty bad. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are pretty bad. 3 of them are pretty good, and 1 of them is the best one. And that one is going to probably win you the game. And it like if you take the 3 good lines, you win, the majority of your matches. But if you really want to up your win percentage, you really have to take the best play, and that means tanking a lot. So in the tournament, I actually got called on for slow play because I just took 2 or 3 minutes to tank, because I was trying to calculate 2 or 3 turns in advance, both my opponent's turns and my turn. So I was like, if I attack here, then do I get killed? And if I don't get killed, can I deal enough damage to kill him? If I can't, then can he deal enough damage to kill me again? Like it's like you have to really count, and you have to really, really calculate.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very, very important, and it's something that I just didn't do at all.
Yeah, but I mean, you managed to do well just by the sheer power level of that.
Yeah, that just goes to show that it is a better Bahamut.
Yes,
that's it.
Absolutely,
hands down.
All right, let's go over the stones really quickly. Then I'm going to talk about the plans.
Okay.
All right, so this is really quick. 4 red, white stones.
Yeah.
The only white card is Gwiber, so if you don't hit this, it's honestly not so bad. Little red, the pure stone. It's nice and blue. It's pretty good.
That's a fresh blue one.
Yeah. This is pretty self-explanatory. You almost always name red. Unless it's just like your 3rd stone and you want to make Gwiber. It's kind of a corner case, but it's almost always red. It also helps with the OTK as well, and because it makes it so that your opponent has to think twice before killing your guy. Like for example, there was one game where I had a Cthugha and a little red up, and I knew he had Thunder in hand. It was very obvious he had Thunder in hand, so I was like, attack with Cthugha, and he couldn't shoot it, and then I OTK'd him because I got in the damage with the Cthugha.
Yeah, it's basically telling your opponent, hey, you're going to need more than 500 to kill my 500 guy.
Yeah.
Because you can buff him by 2.
Right. It wasn't really relevant a lot of the time, but it was like...
It's a safe card.
It's just a safe card, yeah.
It's a good card.
There's no real downside to running this card over, like, say, a Firestone,
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And then the rest.
5 Firestones. Yeah. It's a mono red deck. You always want red mana.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool beans. So let's talk about the 5 plans really quickly. So the first plan is what most people in Baja Blast are very used to. You just go Bahamut, Laevateinn. Where's Laevateinn? Laevateinn. Ruhk Egg, Cthugha, kill you. Okay, so that's the aggro plan. You can just go flip Bahamut, make a Ruhk Egg with Cthugha, attack, and then flip Bahamut on 2. And then just proceed with the normal Bahamut nut draw.
Right, you have that option.
Yes, you have that option. So that's the one. It doesn't come up very often, but in game 3 of my last match for the 3rd, 4th place match, that's actually exactly what I did. I was just like, Ruhk Egg, Cthugha, drop 2 Regalias, just go ham.
Right, yeah, just go nuts.
Right. So I put him to 14 on turn 2 or something like that. So he was forced to make Bahamut and try and block. And it allowed me to win the game after that.
Right.
Because I made a stone and I was ahead on stones, and therefore I could do a lot more things.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So so that's the first plan. The second plan is the stall plan, which is with I talked about this briefly before. Is with Little Red, Granny, and Poison Apple. So what you can do is you just stabilize on 2 and remove their threats. So it's all about reducing how much damage that your opponent can do to you. So it's about stabilizing and stopping all the bleeding that they can do. It's not very offensive, but it makes it so that you don't die. It buys you more turn basically.
Right.
All right, cool. The third plan is the Ruhk Egg, Gwen, and Little Red combo. Or not so much combo, but the interactions. So this is the grind plan, which basically means you can just grind out the game by sacking Ruhk Egg, searching for another card, and then drawing 2, discarding 1. So you go +2. So you're going up in cards. And same with Little Red as well, because you are getting a 2-for-1 right here. And so basically this is a floater. It's essentially free. Right. And then you can afterwards, after you pitch, you can sack this off and draw to discard 1, and you can draw into more gas. Basically. So it's all about so this allows you to maintain a hand advantage as well as board advantage as well. So it gives you a lot of grind potential and late game potential as well.
Right.
All right. Third plan is the OTK plan. So the OTK plan is let's see. Where is the little? And the Gwiber should be in here, right? Yeah. All right. So the thing about this deck is so in order to add up to 4K, the best numbers are 12, 12, and 16. So 2 12s and a 16, right? So these are all sources of 12. So let's say you have 2 of these, right? So you play this, you sack this to Bahamut, and you get in for 2 12s, right?
Right.
Then you tap this. This
Regalia.
is 1, right? So this would be 12 damage right now. You sack this, untap, tap this, that's 2. Sack, untap, tap, that's 3. That's 16 damage on Bahamut. Exactly lethal. So 2 12s and a 16 is lethal. And a lot of the times, it's not as simple as that, because maybe they have 1 mana open. They might have a Thunder. So, you have to be able to kill them through a Thunder. So you have to, sometimes you have to go bait the Thunder with something else, and then kill them with a Granny afterwards.
Right.
A lot of times what you can also do is, if you don't draw this, you can draw a Ruhk Egg. You can go, even if it's 1 Granny, and you've gotten a little bit of chip damage early, you go Ruhk Egg, sack this, tap and tap to this.
To the Regalia.
To grab another Ruhk Egg, sack, tap and tap, grab this, and then you play this, flip this, blow away the blocker with this, and then you attack here, and this is damage. This is game. If they're at 35 or 32 or something.
Right, yeah. They took a little bit earlier.
Yeah, they took a little bit chip damage earlier, which is why the Hunters and the Cthulhas are really, really important. Absolutely. Because sometimes you can't get 4K damage, and the early damage that you get in is really good. So you can even go ham like this, and then pass, and then they try and deal with your Bahamut or whatever, and you go, okay, untap the Thunder, you die.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So you have to be able to count really, really far ahead.
Right.
Because if you mess up and you don't do an OTK correctly, then you die on the backswing a lot of the times.
Right.
Or if you don't do your OTK the correct turn, then you die the next turn afterwards. Because this game is all about turns right now. It's all about tempo and all about being able to be a turn ahead. So if you can kill them a turn before they can kill you, then that's a huge advantage. Or you can stop them from killing you a turn ahead. Which will the grind plan and the stall plan really, really work towards. All right, the 5th plan is this and another Gwiber. Right, it's just land. Oh, whoops, that's not a Gwiber.
That's a Granny.
That's Granny. Gwiber. The 5th plan is land a big fatty. Basically, if you can land Susanowo, Gwiber, a lot of decks just can't deal with it and it'll die. Right?
Fatty.
It's a big fatty. Right. So there's a lot of ways. So Susanowo is pretty self-explanatory. Like Gwiber or a Bahamut, you just slam it and you attack. And this also leads into the OTK plan as well, because sometimes you want to attack them and not attack their Bahamut, or vice versa. You really have to calculate. There were a couple of games where I had to tank really, really hard whether or not I wanted to attack them or Bahamut. And making the right decision really won me the game. And this it blocks Bahamut. It basically eats most everything, and you can play this back to back because you can just search it up with the Bahamut. You can search this up with Ruhk Egg as well.
They might be able to deal with this once, but they're not dealing with it 3 times.
Yes, absolutely. There's a couple of ways to make this. You can make this on turn 2 by going turn 1 Ruhk Egg, and then turn 2 sacking the Ruhk Egg to Cthugha, playing another Ruhk Egg, and then playing this, or just another 1-drop in general, and then playing this, and that's all for 2. Or you can have a 2-card combo. You just go little red into this, which we talked about a little bit before.
Okay.
Yeah, and also the high density of 1-drops means that this is really, really strong.
Yeah, it's very easy to get out.
Yeah,
you don't have a problem.
Yeah, and only having 4 white stones is not really big of a problem because you just need to hit white stone in 3 tries.
Right.
Or at very worst 4 tries.
Right.
Yeah. Also, what's really relevant with this card is you can play this card on 3 as well. Or for 3 mana as well. Because you could go a dude, hold priority, and then play it for 3.
Right.
Yeah, and that's honestly a lot of times just like 3 mana for a 12/12 flyer. That's already really discounted.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like 1 mana for a 12/12 flying is just so efficient.
Yeah.
Mana wise, because like you really want to be able to put as much power and as many things on the board as possible with the least amount of mana, and this deck does as much of it as it can.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Let's go over the sideboard real quick.
Okay, real quickly.
So this is a very long video, guys, and if you're watching this, it's because you want to. We'll also do a shorter one as well, where like you just go over the deck and it'll be like 6 minutes.
Really?
This is 40.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's fine. I'll be also writing an article as well. So and explaining this more in depth as well because this deck can go super deep.
Yeah, as we know, because we're almost half the length of Star Wars.
Really?
We're 40 minutes into the video.
Well, shit. All right. So first one, Apostle of Cain.
Okay.
All right.
You love this card.
I really like this card. This card is for the creature heavy matchups because what has happened to the meta is you can go really wide to beat Bahamut. Like go like turn 1 1-drop, turn 2 2-drops, and turn 3 1-drops, and then like if one of them's like Gwiber or like Jeanne d'Arc, it's just like kind of in trouble, because Jeanne d'Arc is like really strong because it gains you a whole bunch of life and whatnot. And Gwiber is just a 12/12 flyer. But like so stuff like My World, Ipank's My World, or stuff like Bonsai Grim, this card is very good against because it's all about reducing the creature count. So what you can do is you just flip this, and you can amplify the damage with Regalia, and then you can just mow down the creatures and just keep their guys off the board.
Right.
Basically. So that's the game plan. And a lot of decks just can't beat that game plan of just like keeping your guys off the board. So like that's why White Weenies is not good right now because Cain is a thing. Right. You just single-handedly will just straight up mow down their whole entire line.
Right. If you don't have an answer to Cain, you'll lose. Right.
And you honestly don't have to commit any cards to it. You could just have a Regalia and they're just straight up dead.
Exactly.
And then if they do some fancy stuff to kill it, you just like, okay, well you go at -2 to kill my Cain, I'll just sack my Regalia and try again,
Yeah,
like
sure.
and then it's all about like making them go minus.
Right.
Basically. So Cain is pretty good.
Right.
I like him a lot. Okay, Snow White. Okay, this card's pretty interesting. So I actually never brought her in.
I love this card.
Yeah, he liked this card, but the reason why is that I think that this card is pretty good is because this Snow White allows you to lock down their Bahamut if they play it early, right? So it essentially is a card that says, do not activate your Bahamut early or you get super punished.
Right.
Basically. Because if they activate on turn 2, then you activate on turn 2, lock their Bahamut out of the game. They can't. They're playing on 1 stone. You're playing on 1 stone. Your guys are so much better than theirs. You'll win eventually.
Right. This deck is designed to play on low mana.
Yeah. Right. And also if they flip Bahamut later, then you can flip your own guy and make it so that it can tap down their Bahamut, or you can just grab another Susanowo and then just attack down their Bahamut.
And it's a 13/13 on the other side.
Right.
13, that gets swiftness with Regalia. She's and has target attack.
Yeah. I
mean, she's not messing around.
Yeah. So she's like pretty good. I never brought her in because I never felt like there was a matchup I wanted to bring her in. Like it's pretty good if you're like game 3 on the draw against Bahamut. Yeah.
Right. That's what I brought her. I mean, specifically the reason why I like this card so much is game 3 on the draw against Baja Blast. This right here is a mind game.
Right.
I'm telling you not to do
a
normal thing.
The right thing to play against this card is to gamble and pray that they don't have an apple in their hand. Because that's realistically the only real way you're going to win. Because if you don't flip on 2 against this deck, it's actually really difficult to come back.
And then you just mull heavy for an apple and win.
Right. But the thing is, so the thing is, like, they have to take the gamble that you didn't draw the apple, and if you had the apple, you just straight up win.
Yeah, you win the game.
Right.
It's done.
Let's see here. Okay, so
the rest of this is pretty easy stuff.
Kinda. So 3 splits. Pretty self-explanatory. Deals with a lot of the random rogue Vlad or whatever. Vlad is rogue. Yeah, so like if you see them playing all special stones, you just bring a split, and sometimes they just can't win because nobody's playing counter spells right now.
Yeah.
Alright, 3 Bullet of Envies. This is for the Bahamut on the draw. This is fighting against Bahamut, against Melgus, against Kayn. So basically, it's just if you're lower on life total, then you give Resonator or your J Ruler +8/+8. It's like, for example, if they like flip Bahamut on turn 2, which is like their nut draw, you can go, okay, well, I'm gonna make a stone, make a hunter, slap the Bullet of Envy, attack your Bahamut, make you sack your Regalia. You're just like -2.
Right, yeah.
Right,
and it was a hunter and, and this.
And you still have an 11/11 too.
Right, yeah.
So the 11/11 can just, maintain pressure on the board. Right. And then you can use it to help you OTK and whatever. Right. I found this card okay. I actually didn't know how to play with this card, so I made a lot of misplays with this card.
Interesting.
But I felt it was pretty strong. I wasn't unhappy with the card.
Yeah, it's really good card.
So 2 Crime and Punishments. I actually really didn't like this card when I was playing in the tournament. That's because I didn't play against any Canes. If there were Canes, then Crime and Punishment would be really good. It's like okay against Bahamut because you can do kind of the same thing. You go, Hunter into Crime and Punishment, kill your Bahamut. But you lose out on the Hunter, which kind of sucks. Other than that, like I honestly felt that this was pretty dead. It's bad against Melgus. It's bad against honestly Bahamut too. All right, 1 Duel of Truth.
Boom.
I was just pretty afraid of Kayn is the main thing. But like it deals with Kayn, and that's pretty much just it. Like I boarded this out almost all the time because I never saw Kayn. I was waiting for somebody to play Kayn.
Right.
Yeah.
You were ready.
I was ready.
Yeah. Bring it on, Kayn.
Yeah. But what ended up happening was Melgus ended up wrecking me. I actually had Melgus is a very difficult matchup. If I had the opportunity to play this deck again, this Duel of Truth would be a Melgus. Because there is no real good answer to Melgus other than Melgus himself. So the thing is, like, Melgus is good against Bahamut on the play. If you're on the play against Bahamut, because you go turn 1, turn 2, and then you can use the Melgus to outrace them or to attack their Bahamut or whatever. Basically clear the board and whatnot. Whereas on the draw, Melgus is too slow. Right. And like it comes down on turn 3 on the draw. So that means that a Bahamut has had 3 turns to try and out aggro you, basically, before you can activate Melgus and do a whole bunch of damage or whatever. So I didn't respect Melgus coming in. I really should have, and I kind of regret not doing it. But Melgus is really strong. Absolutely. So this would be a Melgus.
Boom.
Okay. Second Susanowo, just like you bring it in against the Gwiber heavy decks, and if you think that they're going to keep in Bahamut. So the thing about the Bahamut matchups are, it's kind of like that one scene from Princess Bride where they're doing the Battle of Wits with the wine cups things.
Right. One has poison in it, and they move it around.
Right. So like it's like your opponent's going, okay, well, I think he's going to do this, but he might know that I'm going to. My opponent thinks that I might board it to Melgus, so
he may board it to Melgus.
He may board into Melgus, but if he boards into Melgus, I can keep in Bahamut, and Bahamut will beat Melgus on the. Right. So it's a huge game of rock paper scissors, and it's kind of tricky to kind of pin down what your opponent's trying to do,
it's fun.
It's fun.
It's
but
fun.
Like if you open up wrong, then you just like are on losing up rock paper scissors basically.
Yeah, that's why you got to be better at the rock paper scissors game.
Yeah, get good at rock paper scissors, people.
That's all I need. That's
okay. So the last package is really interesting. So it's 2 Basket of Little Reds and Clockwork Apple Bomb. So Basket of Little Red grabs you any apple. So it grabs you a Clockwork and it grabs you Poison Apple as well. Clockwork is essentially basically a
apple.
And a 5th copy of 0 Mana Stunning is a 5th copy of Apple, basically. You probably want to pitch this as soon as possible. If you bring this in, I found this was actually pretty good. In the weirdest deck, so not Snow White. You think that this would be really good in Snow White? This is actually really bad in Snow White because Snow White's all about playing on low mana if you are in that situation to play low mana. This is actually with Kayn. The reason why is because Kane is all about keeping board control and keeping their creature count low. Because decks like Alice's World and Bonsai Grim scale off of having a ton of creatures, right? And the way that you beat their deck is just mowing down the creatures constantly. And Basket of Little Red really helps with that because you can just constantly refill your hand with, apple bombs and poison apples to just keep mowing down their guys. So you don't have to waste a whole ton of mana on shooting like a Hamlin or Gwiber or whatever. You just go, tap, search for an apple, shoot a Gwiber, and then shoot it with the last hit of Apostle of Kane. Right. Apostle of Creation, Kane, basically.
Yes.
And also, what's also relevant about this card is you can pay 1 to bring it back to your hand. So you can it helps with the grind plan because you can go bounce it back to your hand, sack whatever the basket was on, draw 2, and discard the basket afterwards. So once you run out, it's just basically 2 cards.
Right.
Yeah. So this is all about bringing it into the very, very, very late game.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it worked out pretty well for me. I boarded it against a white weenie deck and a Grim deck, and it worked out pretty well. And yeah, so that's basically the deck.
Well, awesome stuff.
So much information.
A lot of information, long video.
I'm gonna write a pretty big article about it. Expected to be around, I don't know, really, really long, like 1 billion pages or something
Bryan,
like that.
You need to stop talking to me. I've been holding up this camera for 50 minutes.
I know.
I'm not rushing on anything. I'm so tired.
Oh, I am so sorry, man.
Okay, man. Well, awesome. Hey, guys, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us all over the place. This has been Kyle and Bryan from ForceWillTavern.com. We are out of here.